Hi you guys, welcome back to my channel. Today I want to do a review of a book that I think might be my favorite book of the year, and it's not even out yet. If you didn't see my haul video from about a week ago, I will link that down below, but I was able to pick up copies early of 3 books that have not yet been released, and the one that I've been most excited about is Warcross by Marie Lu. So when I got this, I dropped everything, I sat down, I read this thing, I finished it in a day, so flew through it, but oh my goodness, this is such a good book. If you like Marie Lu, if you like light science fiction, if you are into video games, then you will probably love this book. It, for me at least, totally lived up to the hype and then some. I was a huge fan. It drew me into the story and pulled me right through it, and it was just so much fun, such a great read. So if you don't know anything about Warcross, the protagonist of the story is Emika Chen, and she is an orphan. Her father passed away when she was 11, and she went into the foster care system. She's really smart. She got good at computers and hacking, but due to hacking got kicked out of school, and so is therefore living on her own, trying to make a living, but just kind of barely surviving and working as a bounty hunter. Now, the thing that I think is super interesting about Warcross is that it is set in our world basically today, except with the addition of this completely disruptive technology. And this technology is something called the Neuralink, which was created by the now young billionaire teenage genius Hideo Tanaka. And he was a Japanese young man who, before he was 20, had created this technology. In the book, the Neuralink is something where you put on these glasses and somehow it connects with your brain, and it's like this amazing virtual reality where it uses your own brain to fill in gaps and make the world seem like a really real place. And with each purchase of these glasses, he included this sort of virtual reality video game called Warcross. Now, in the book that we're reading, the Neuralink has been around for a few years, and it has become a global phenomenon. Warcross has taken over everything. Practically everybody has these glasses because he's made them affordable enough that most people can have them or get older versions of them. And everybody plays Warcross, so much so that there are now professional Warcross players who actually are paid to play in this virtual reality game. So Emika Chen comes onto the scene. She loves Warcross, but she is struggling to survive and sort of plays it when she can. She's also a really good hacker. And so in the first couple of chapters, she gets to a place where she is way behind on her rent. She's about to get kicked out of her apartment, and she's desperate to do something to get money. So, hoping to solve her problem, she hacks into the opening game of the global Warcross competition that billions of people are logged in to watch. And she thinks she can get away with it without being discovered. But in the process of doing what she's doing, she's unveiled. Billions of people see who she is, and she freaks out because she thinks she's going to go to jail. Her life is over. And instead, what happens is she gets a phone call from Hideo Tanaka, the creator of Warcross, asking her if she would like to fly to Tokyo to discuss a job. And from that point on, her life is completely different. So, this book, man, it is so fun. It's such a fun ride. I mean, at the beginning, I almost want to say it's sort of like a Cinderella story, except with a girl who's a hacker and a bounty hunter and good at this like virtual reality video game. And it's not really like Cinderella, but you know, it's so fun. It's so fun. You may not know this about me, but I really like video games. My husband and I will play them together, and it's really fun. Oh man, the tech, I love how rich the world is. The virtual reality stuff that she creates, these worlds that they're able to go into to play in, are just amazing. And like reading this book, I could picture it all in my head, and I felt like I was there, and that is an incredible, incredible thing. The story is really fast-paced, it's really fun. I felt like I wanted to be a part of the world. One other really cool thing about this is that Marie Lu brings a lot of diversity into the story. She has characters of different races who speak different languages. She's got biracial characters. And one other thing that I thought was really cool is that the professional Warcross players are like these huge international celebrities, right? But because it's a virtual reality game, anybody can play this. And so she actually has a couple of characters who are physically disabled who become professional Warcross players, and you see that in here, and I thought that was really cool. She's got some LGBT representation, although it's not the primary characters, but it does exist in this book. I just thought it was so great, and I liked the way that she considered the fact that people would be speaking different languages if this was a global competition where you have players from different countries. She really integrates that. One other thing that I thought was kind of interesting about this is, I don't know how many of you guys have read the Champion series by Marie Lu, but in that series, I believe there is one country that they go to briefly. It doesn't play a huge role in it, but where they go there, they go there, and the people there are in this sort of virtual reality game where things that they do in their everyday life add to their sort of points and their social credibility. And I thought it was really interesting because in Warcross, you get something similar, particularly in cities like Tokyo, where everything has been sort of like digitized to where if you have these glasses on and you're walking down the streets, you're not only seeing the buildings, but you're also seeing, like, you know, names of things above them. You might see dragons flying through the air. You might see like crazy cool things. And in that city, everyday things you do, like watering a plant or going to visit a tourist attraction or, you know, a variety of things will add to your points. To help you level up your avatar in the game. And I thought that was really fascinating. It made me curious whether Warcross could be considered to be a prequel to the Champion series, and, you know, that's a very dystopian sort of futuristic thing. The thing that I was saying earlier about the fact that this is set in our current time but with a disruptive technology is kind of fun, because a lot of the pop culture references are very familiar, and this feels like something that could actually happen. It feels like the next step from, you know, smartphones, right? If somebody created this crazy, amazing virtual reality technology that was affordable and everybody became a part of it, like, how would it change our world, but where some things are familiar and some things are really, really different? And so she does such a great job of, I think, capturing that in a way that's really interesting and really fun, and the writing is just so lush. So I loved all of that. I thought it was fantastic, and I would be super curious to know whether you could consider this book, and I think there will be more in the series. Like, it definitely feels like it could be continued. It stands alone on it could stand alone on its own. It is a relatively complete story, but you're definitely left at the end with some questions about what might happen next. And I was very satisfied with this, but I would be curious to continue, and I would love to hear her talk about whether this is the same world as the Champion series and whether this could be considered a prequel series to that. That would be really interesting to me. Okay, now I want to talk about a few things that are a little bit more spoilery. So if you haven't read this book or you really don't want to be spoiled, you might want to stop watching this video. So bye, thank you so much for watching, like and subscribe, and I will see you next time. Okay, so if you're still here, either you've read Warcross or you don't really care whether you're spoiled. So let's talk about a few things. All right, so, and this actually for me, I think, gets into the stuff that wasn't like perfect for me in the story. So not terribly surprisingly, Emika ends up hooking up with Hideo Tanaka. And their relationship, I had mixed feelings about. In some ways I liked it, I thought it was interesting, but I also felt like it happened so fast. He is this very sort of controlled person most of the time, you know, almost to a fault, where he's very, very careful. And I get that people who are like that maybe have a lot going on under the surface, and if you can strip that away, there's a lot of stuff. And we see that from early on, and she somehow is able to really get through all of the walls he has up. But I did feel like it happened a little too fast. I understood why she fell for him so quickly. She had been kind of fangirling over Hideo for years from afar, and so it's unsurprising to me that she would fall for him really quickly. But Hideo, you know, I feel like he would have had more walls up. I felt like it happened too quickly. He fell too fast and too hard, and I didn't love that. I think what I would have liked to have seen that might have felt a little bit more believable to me may have been like him starting to sort of come on to her but not taking it as something super serious, and then in the process falling for her. That might have felt a little bit more authentic to me, but like, it was fine. I also really liked how she built out so much backstory for both Emika and Hideo, and it's interesting to me because both of them have been through traumatic experiences, and both of them have experienced tremendous loss in their lives, but the way that they handle it is very different. I thought that was a really interesting contrast, right? Because you have Emika who, you know, yes, her mother left when she was very, very young and wanted kind of nothing to do with them. Her father died when she was young, and she found out after the fact he had had gambling problems and a lot of, you know, there were a lot of problematic things with her childhood and issues in the foster care system that she went into after the fact. She's been through a lot, but ultimately her character arc through this story is one of growth and one of learning to develop friendships, which I loved that. I loved how she started to open up to the people on the Warcross team that she plays on after she goes to Tokyo. I loved how she begins to open up her heart to people and care about people, and so ultimately she's able to take that pain and pour it into something that is productive, which you know, initially was her learning so much about computers and learning how to be such a good hacker, but also eventually having these really great relationships and friendships, and I thought that that was so fantastic. Hideo, on the other hand, when he loses his brother as a child, turns it all inward. At first he blames himself for everything, but then he turns his anger outward and blames the world, and it becomes this really, really destructive force. And you see the choices that he makes and what he ends up deciding to do. And you know, while you can somewhat sympathize with him, you also realize that he's taken this pain and this loss and allowed it to create darkness in him and turn him into something that he shouldn't be. And I thought it was really interesting too, although I will say that I sort of guessed from early on who the person is in the book that we think is the villain, the other hacker that she's trying to catch. I kind of was thinking, okay, is this his brother? Is he like actually alive? And so obviously that was the big like spoiler at the end, and I had kind of guessed that that was probably true. I did not, however, guess that Hideo was a villain as well. That kind of shocked me, and I was not expecting that, so that was kind of cool, because I was like, okay, I think I know where this is going, and yeah, I was like half right, but there was also a twist that I did not expect and totally didn't see coming. So props to Marie Lu, because that doesn't always happen. I feel like I fairly frequently figure things out early. So yeah, the other thing that I thought was really cool about this is how she integrates the black market and the Silk Road into the virtual reality. That's so fascinating to me, like Bitcoin and all that. If you guys don't know about that, you know, it's like a whole rabbit hole. But it was so interesting to me how right now there is this dark internet where there's, you know, drugs and sex and all of these things being sold, and then in here you have the same thing but in a virtual reality platform, and it's just really interesting. I like how she thought through the ramifications of what this technology would do and how it would change things and how realistically it would function. Yeah, so man, this book, so good. I am a huge fan of this. I will probably be raving about this for a very long time. This has definitely been my favorite read of the year so far. Yeah, man, like Marie Lu just knocked this one out of the park. I loved this book. This was a 5-star read for me, even though there were a couple of things that I didn't think were perfect with the romantic stuff and whatever. Overall, it was so good. And the stuff that was good was so good that like the things that I didn't love really paled in comparison. So yeah, I loved this book. I thought it was fantastic. If you haven't read it, pick it up as soon as it comes out because it's amazing and you'll get through it fairly quickly. In the comments down below, please do let me know if you have read this book, if you want to read it, what you thought about it. Obviously, I'm a big fan, but you know, if you had different thoughts or ideas about this, I would love to hear your thoughts. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you next time.